Hi Ali.
Hello.
So today I'm gonna ask you about British English. Japanese students learn American English in school usually.
Right.
They struggle British English sometimes.
Mm.
At first, what is the big difference between British and American English?
Yeah, I mean, I think the accent is probably the main thing that causes a lot of confusion. But there are also some terms and certain words that are completely different. And to be honest, I didn't have any American friends before I lived in Japan. So only in Japan did I understand the differences between British English and American English.
And the spelling as well.
Yeah, the spelling, that's so true.
Center is different.
Yeah, center and like analyze with an S or with a Z.
Yeah.
That's another one actually. Like we say Z in English, but in British English, but in American they say Z, which, yeah, there are some things that when I hear them, I just realize that as a British person, I wouldn't really use them. An example being cute. We do use it more now, but cute is more about like a cute baby rather than a cute dress, you know, just things like that, like how we phrase things.
Do you use definitely, absolutely, usually?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, we do. Certainly, absolutely. And I think, yeah, other words of like really expressing ourselves like brilliant or fantastic or great, whereas Americans might use things more like awesome, you know, like awesome or like amazing. I don't know, I'm not sure, but there are some differences in how we express ourselves, yeah.
I went to Hawaii last week.
Lovely. Lucky you.
Thank you. And I met Australian people.
Okay.
They have different accent as well.
Yes, different accent and different phrases as well. So I think I used to work with an Australian and in the morning, he used to say, "How are you going?
How are you going?
How are you going?" And in British English, we say like, "How are you doing?" or "How is it going?" This is a way of saying like, "How are you?" But "How are you going?" It's like, I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying here. You know, like I didn't really understand what he meant, but little things like that. Oh, or like a pen, they say like a pin. I think, I'm sorry, my Australian accent is not great, but there's a difference, yeah.
You are an English teacher.
I am, yes.
So your students' opinions about British English, like they feel it's difficult or it's easier than American English. What do you think?
Funnily enough, like most of my students feel that my accent is really easy to understand, which is maybe strange because generally people are taught American English. I think it's because we enunciate quite clearly, usually, but I'm not sure why. I mean, yeah, maybe they're just being nice. One thing even like 6 years after, you know, I've been a teacher for 6 years, and I do still sometimes struggle to know the difference between when you walk and when you work, you know. So I would say that you walk to work, walking to work, but Americans might say walk to work. So sometimes when someone says, I'll walk, I'm like, will you walk or will you work? Like I can't really tell the difference. Yeah, it depends on context. And another one is like, I can and I can't.
Oh, yeah.
Versus like, I can and I can't.
How do you recognize it usually? On the context?
On the context, ask for clarification. And usually when I'm saying that I can or can't do something, I'll kind of gesture, so like I can't do it, or like I can do it, just to give a little bit more of a clue so that my students can get used to the sound. But I think the key is sort of at the end. So like in British English, I think it's quite simple because it's can, so it's like a short vowel. I can, but then I can't. But in American, it's like both a can, or can't. And if the T isn't there, like I just don't know. So yeah, context, I guess.
A sound is different, like a station station.
Ah, yes, yeah. Usually I think in accent differences, it's the vowels which are affected. I'm from Wales, and so for example, if you say all right, in Wales we might say all right. Very, very different, even in Britain. Yeah. I mean, it's just like Japan really, but there's so many different accents and dialects and, you know, phrases that even like an hour away, someone from the UK, but an hour away from where I'm from, they might use terms and stuff that I don't even understand. And London's quite famous for its Cockney.
Cockney.
Yeah. So the Cockney slang, like the stairs are like the apples and pears. You know, like how would anyone know what that means unless, you know, you learnt it, right?
Yeah, right. Even Japanese has lots of dialects.
Right, yeah.
Like a Tohoku dialect, and Kyushu dialect.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's very different.
But I think it's sort of, I mean, I think that like Japan and the UK have quite a few similarities because they're both like relatively small islands. And yeah, they have this sort of like the north and the south are so different and like, yeah.
Do you have some frequent questions from your students?
The majority of my students are Japanese, and I think the key struggles are can and can't, as I said earlier, and L and R. Those are probably the main difficulties in terms of pronunciation. But I would also say something that is difficult, and it is for me learning Japanese, is trying to remember the words, the new words that you've learnt. And my advice would be to connect them with something that you know. So for example, when I learnt the Japanese word for bridge, hashi, I just imagined like two hashi, like two chopsticks kind of thing, because it builds this connection. And the more that you build this connection, like the bigger your vocabulary can be or will stay. But yeah.
R and L and B and V.
Ah, yes, yeah.
For Japanese people, it's very difficult. Yeah, actually, I wonder that native English speakers, how they recognize or make different sound.
Okay. So like, it's funny because in Japanese, I struggle with the like ryokan, the R-Y-O. So I understand it personally myself. And I would say with the pronunciation things like B and V, it's all about how you position your mouth. So B would be like a plosive, so it's kind of like an explosion of sound from your mouth, like B, whereas like the V is about a vibration, and so you want air to be sort of going through like, yeah, like kind of going through with your like bottom lip on your top teeth, like a V sound, like a more of a vibration.
Is it completely different for you, or it's similar? For Japanese, it's very similar sound, but do you think it's very different?
I would say yes, it is really different. But if a Japanese person is talking to me and makes a little error or doesn't really clarify the difference between B and V, like I can understand what the person is saying, you know. So I would say, like, if you're nervous about does it sound perfect, is it right? Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. Like the main thing is just having the confidence to talk and express, and more likely than not, someone else will understand, you know. Like,
R and L as well?
R and L, yeah. So again, that's all about positioning. And with R, your tongue is touching nothing in your mouth. It's sort of like curling over in itself, and your lips come forward. I think that's like a really important part. The lips are coming forward. When you practice how to do R, you want to like really like exaggerate and put your lips out, so like kind of thing. But then when you're talking in normal language and over time when you're used to it, you won't need to do it so exaggeratedly. Yeah. And with L, yeah, it's very much like your tongue is touching your upper teeth, so la, and yeah.
For practicing, it's good to exaggerate.
Totally, yeah, definitely.
But, in a daily conversation, for the context, they would understand.
I think so, yes, yeah. And I think it's just a case of practicing. Like if you said L and R and you learnt the differences, like you studied that for 100 hours, it would come much more naturally. So it's just a case of practicing something that, you know, as a Japanese, like you don't have that in your language. So it's just a case of practice.
Yeah, that's right. We have to practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me too.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
And you are doing YouTube and Instagram.
Yes, I am. I have a British English YouTube, so please follow if you're interested.
Yeah, please watch our YouTube channel.
Thank you.
All right. See you in the next video. Bye.
See you.